up, tribe? How you guys doing? We are back for another retro review. I know it has been a long time, but listen, we are here. This is A Different World Season 2, Episode 20. So listen, this is actually probably one of my favorite episodes. This episode, once again, reminds you, for those of us who were there and we went through A Different World in real time, we weren't watching, wasn't reruns and all of that. It just once again makes you just remember the importance of a show like this and how impactful this show was. Like I told you guys before, when A Different World started, I was in high school, but the run of A Different World lasted through some of my college years. And this is the episode. Well, you'll see what I'm talking about as we go through this. So the episode starts off. We have Freddy coming into the pit, and she is bragging about how well the baseball team beat Hampton and the star player Garth, how great he is, how he did this, he did that. Jaleesa could care less about baseball, but she is here for, Freddie swooning over this guy, and she was like, okay, Freddie, we've been here before, of course, we know how she was with Dwayne, honey. And she was like, we've been here before, child, we have been here before. And, Walter comes in, him and Jaleesa still dating, and he's bragging about the game. He's the coach, and he's bragging about the game, and he's bragging about how good Garth is. And then the baseball team ends up coming through, and Dwayne is on the team. And poor Dwayne, he is not a star player, but y'all know everybody loves Dwayne, so, they love to beat up on him and talk about how bad he really is, And then we see Whitley even try to flirt with this Garth guy a little bit. But, honey, Garth seems to only have eyes for who? Freddy. And Freddy don't know what to do with herself because, y'all know, remember Freddy was 17 when she got to Hillman, and she's no experience. So Garth is a little cutie now, don't get me wrong. He's a little cutie and he's showing some attention, and he ends up inviting Freddy to the dance. And Freddy was like, oh no, me and Dwayne agreed to go. And Dwayne was like, I hurt my arm in the game. You go ahead and go. Because, of course, Dwayne is only interested. I mean, Dwayne, and from Dwayne's point of view, him and Freddie are just friends. He doesn't see anything romantic. So he was all cool throwing the alley-oop to his boy. He thinks Garth is a good dude. He thinks Freddie is a good girl. So he's like, yeah, go ahead. So, so next thing you know, we see Dwayne. I want to make sure I have this in the right order now, child. We see Dwayne go over to the dorm to take Freddie her book bag. She had left it at the pit, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I totally, I wasn't paying attention." And they were like, and him and Jaleesa are, teasing her about, yeah, you only got eyes for Garth and this, that, and the other, and Freddie is being what a girl is when somebody's interested in that, that kind of thing. And she's talking about how she got to go to the mall and get a new dress for the dance and everything. And Jaleesa asked, Dwayne, she said, so this isn't weird for you? Like, you don't feel no kind of way about her, going crazy, going gaga over Garth? And he was like, nah, like, I'm cool. He was like, me and Freddie are just friends. It's cool. He was like, but, I mean, was she this gaga over me? And Jaleesa was like, maybe. She said she had already figured out when y'all was getting married, how many kids y'all was having and everything. And he was like, oh, okay. So I'm glad that they acknowledged that there could be a jealousy situation. But, Dwayne was like, nah, I'm good. Like, we cool. So then we see Dwayne and Garth at the gym, playing a little basketball or whatever. And two girls come in, and they're coming out of working out, and they're getting ready to cool down. And one of the girls was like, oh, okay, I'll go get us some mats. And the other girl was like, okay, cool. And Garth goes up to her and was like, hey, how you doing? And she looks at him, and she runs off, and she was like, I'll cool down in the shower. And she runs off, and Dwayne makes a little comment at her, talking about something, I wouldn't mind being a bead of sweat, rolling down your back or something, something simple thing that a guy would say, And when the girls running in, Garth tells Dwayne, oh, well, she's a little, she's a feisty one, and Dwayne was like, oh, for real? Like, you, that's you? And he was like, yeah, we had a little situation. One day we were going to a picnic, and she came up to my room to get a blanket. And, I mean, I know she was there for more than just getting a blanket. And Dwayne was like, oh, for real? What happened? And he was like, well, she started, trying to back out and act like she wasn't with it. But, sometimes, women are conditioned to say no. So it's our job as guys to make them say yes. And to let them off the hook. Because they really want to say yes, but they don't want the reputation and they don't want men to think badly of them. So they play the game, but they really, really don't mean it. And Dwayne was like, huh, okay. And Garth, Dwayne, know that don't sound right. And he knows it in his mind what it actually sounds like, you know. So then he goes back over to the dorm and he tries to talk to Freddy. And he tells her, he's like, look, Freddy, I don't want you to go out with Garth. And Freddy was like, oh, Dwayne, are you jealous? Like, I know I used to have a crush on you. You can't get used to me having a crush on somebody else. But it's okay. Like, we're really good friends. And maybe one day we'll both be interested in each other at the same time. But for right now, you know, it's me and Garth. And Dwayne was like, no, Freddy, that's not it. Like, Garth really is not who you think he is. And Freddy was like, why are you doing this? Like, I thought Garth was your friend. And he was like, he's not the person that I thought he was. And Freddy was like, I don't believe you're doing this. Why would you do this to me? Why would you do this to him? Like, you know, you really being a jerk. So then Dwayne goes to talk to Walter. And he has the conversation with Walter. And, you know, he tells Walter basically the same thing that Garth. I mean, he didn't say it was Garth. He didn't say it was a woman. But he was like, you know, the whole letting them off the hook situation. And women really want to say yes. But we got to kind of make them say yes. I mean, they really want, you know. And Walter was like, sir? Because, you know, Dwayne was like, well, if a woman's words are saying yes, but her body's saying no. I mean, her body's saying yes, but the words are saying no. Who do we listen to? He was like, her mouth. He was like, no matter what a woman's physical reaction might be, like, you always listen to her mouth, or your ass is gonna be in jail for rape. Well, he didn't say ass. I'm saying ass. And Dwayne was like, no. He was like, we ain't talking about rape. He was like, you know, and I think a lot of people, especially in that age group, like nowadays as adults, we understand that rape comes in all shapes, sizes, and colors. But as kids, and let's be clear, when you're in college, you're still a kid. I mean, unless you're a non-traditional student. But if you straight out of high school, you're still a kid. You don't have a lot. Most of us didn't have a lot of life experiences. Unfortunately, some of us did. But most of us did not. And Dwayne was like, no. I'm not talking about some dude jumping out of some bushes and attacking a woman in the park. Like, we talking about just, you know, some kids dating and that's his boo. And, you know. And Walter was like, I don't care who, what, where, or how. If a woman says no and the man makes her, that's rape. And Dwayne was like, oh, snap. So then Dwayne ends up going to the dance. And I feel like in his mind, because he don't want to snitch on his boy. Like, he's torn between, I want to protect Freddy, but I don't really want to snitch on my boy either. And again, it's easy for us as adults to be like, what do you mean not snitch on your boy? Like, your boy was a rapist. But again, as a 19, 20-year-old child, you know, it's a situation. And so Dwayne, I guess his mindset is, I'm just going to be as disruptive as possible to ruin their date. And I'll deal with the fallback as it comes. Like, if Freddy hates me, then Freddy will just have to hate me. But in the meantime, I'm gonna just have to deal with this. Excuse me, y'all. So Dwayne he acts like a jerk, and he's trying to be as disruptive as to their date as possible. And Freddy basically goes off on him. She was like, why are you trying to ruin this for me? Like, come on, Dwayne. Like, I know I had this whole crush on you, but Garth is interested in me now. I'm not understanding why you're doing this. And Dwayne is like, because I'm trying to protect you. Like, I'm telling you, this dude is a jerk. And she was like, no, you're the jerk. And so she walks off. Now, the backdrop of all of this is that they're getting ready to go play the championship game. They're getting ready to win the whole Division 3 NCAA Division 3 championship the next day. They're leaving the next day for their game. So that's the backdrop of all of this. Remember, Walter's the coach, Garth is the star player. So that's, again, I'm not making excuses, but this is the reality. We know how star athletes get away with a whole lot more shit. Even at a small HBCU, star athletes are put on a pedestal than the average student. We know that. So that's just what it is. We don't have to like it, but it is what it is. So Garth is talking to Freddy. They looking at the stars, and he's talking about they both are into the stars, so they're identifying, oh, that's this and that's this, I don't want to say the Big Dipper, that's so easy, but they were identifying more complicated star systems. And he was like, hey, he said, you ever been to the Overlook? It's a perfect view of the sky, and we could see all the different stars from up there. And Freddie was like, no, let's go. Now, I know there's a part of Freddie, she wasn't that naive. There was a part of Freddie that knew, we're going to the Overlook, we're going to probably kiss a little bit, cuddle, canoodle, I'm sure that's probably what she thought was going to happen, right? I know she wasn't naive enough to think that he wasn't taking her up there just to look at stars, right? So they get up there and they're looking at the stars, and he leans in to kiss her, and she kisses him back. Because again, she was expecting that. She was hoping for it. And she was like, my first kiss. And then she tries to play it off and was like, I mean at him, and girl, you know that was your first kiss. And so he leans in to kiss her a little bit harder, And she's like, oh, wait a minute, Garth. Like, ooh, slow down a little bit. And he was like, Freddie, you know how beautiful you look tonight? And she was like, oh, okay. So then he goes to kiss her again. And this time he's running his leg up her skirt. And she was like, whoa. Like, do you know where you're putting your hand? Which, of course, he clearly knew where he was putting his hand. So that's when Freddie was like, wait a minute. Whoa, this is going a little too fast for me. I'm going to need you to slow it down. And Garth was like, Freddie, I know you didn't think that we was coming up here to look at some stars. And she was like, Garth, stop. Get off me. Stop. He was like, oh, you want it rough? Oh, we could do it that way too. Baby. She got to poking and prodding, and next thing you know, here come Dwayne, come running out of nowhere, jumps on top of the car, because he had opened up the sunroof, puts his hand down into the car, and is like basically, gouging him in the face and in the eyes and stuff. And he's like, Freddy, run, run. And then when dude got a good hold of him, he was like, wait a minute, hold, Freddy, come back, get me, help me. So the next thing we know, we see Garth rolling up on Walter. Walter's packing the bags. They getting ready for their trip. And Walter was like, wait a minute, you got the curfew, bro. Like, I'm pretending like I don't see you, but you better have a good ass reason for not being in your room. And he was like, I know I missed room check, but listen, it's not my fault. It's Dwayne's fault. Now, what Garth doesn't understand is that Walter has relationships with all of these people that are not the regular student dorm resident assistant relationship. Him and Dwayne have a deeper relationship. Him and Freddie have a deeper relationship, right? You know what I'm saying? So Garth is like, Dwayne, that dude is tripping. Me and Freddie were up on the Overlook, and Dwayne just comes out of nowhere, and he just starts attacking me, and Walter was like, what? Like, cause he's like, Dwayne, like, that don't even sound like something Dwayne would do. He was like, well, who were you up there with? He was like, Freddie. And she's got, and part of this is her fault too. She's a tease, and she plays all coy, but she really is, a hot tamale. She's playing us against each other. And Walter was like, Freddie? Cause again, Freddie playing somebody against you, like, come on, Freddie don't have that in her. And he was like, yeah, she playing, she trying to play us against each other. And so Walter was just like, okay, so I'm not really sure what this is. So they got to talking, and he was like, and then Garth starts explaining what happened. And he starts using the same language that Dwayne was using. Because Walter had asked Dwayne, like, where's all this coming from? Like, because I think he was kind of looking at Dwayne sideways, like you out here trying to make women have sex with you. Like, where's this coming from? And Dwayne was like, nothing. Sometimes guys just need to have these kind of conversations. So now Walter is hearing the same language, but it's coming out of Garth's mouth, and he's putting it all together. And he was like, Garth was saying something about, going to sleep or something, and Walter was like, bruh, you need to worry about where you're gonna be sleeping for the next 20 years, okay? So he ends up next thing you know, we back at the dorm, and all the ladies are up talking, and they're having the conversation about him being a creep and them not seeing it, and them like, wow, how could that happen? Thank God that Dwayne was there to help Freddie. And Freddie had actually gone down to the police station with Dwayne and the other girl who we saw at the gym that he had actually raped. And she decided to tell her story. And Letty was telling them, Letty was like, listen, this is what happens Like a lot of times they guys get away with it because the women are afraid. They think nobody's going to believe them, or they feel like they did something wrong, or they did something to contribute to it. And it happens a lot, unfortunately. And um um I lost my train of thought. Oh, it happens a lot, unfortunately, and it's really hard to prove. Like date rape is a really hard case to prove, and that's another reason why a lot of girls just don't come forward, or women just don't come forward. And Freddie comes in, and everybody's like, "Freddie, you okay? You okay?" And she was like, "I'm good. I'm just I'm thankful that Dwayne was there." And the other girl, she's telling her story, and I'm gonna stick with this to the end, however it plays itself out. And then she ends up, basically letting Dwayne know, like, thank you for being my friend. Like, thank you, you know. And I started this video off by saying that this is a very important episode. Like, if I had a daughter going to school, like, this is the kind of stuff I would have her watching. Because I had friends in college who had been date raped. And they didn't tell anybody. And by the time they did tell anybody, I'm not saying it was too late, but at that point, it was kind of too late. Like, y'all know what I'm saying. The statute of limitations weren't up or anything, but there's no rape kit. It's my word against yours. Blah da 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 da. And the other really bad thing about something happening like that on a college campus when you don't tell is what exactly happened in this episode. You run the risk of continuously, running into that person. And that actually happened. Y'all know I went to Bennett College, so I was at an all-girls school, but we were right across the street from another school, and I don't want to, if y'all know, y'all know. But the student went to that school. And whenever we would, from that point forward, and once she confided in us, I'm speaking about one case in particular. Once she confided in us, then of course we knew who this guy was. And he was a popular guy on campus. He was in a fraternity. He was this, he was that. So we would see him from time to time. We would see him all over the place. And it was a really, really hard thing to deal with. And like I said, I had other friends who it happened to who a lot of times they didn't tell us who it was. But it happens way more than we understand, acknowledge, or know. So anyway, I say that to say this was a really great episode. It's actually one of my favorite episodes. Just because of my own experiences, I guess. But for the grace of God, I thank God that it never happened to me. So anyway, let me know what y'all think. Drop it in those comments. Peace.